Hello there, Teacher Tube. This is Mr. Brown, your friendly neighborhood math and science teacher. And I'm here today to tell you how you can use Quizlet to aid in the instruction of your ESL and bilingual students in the content classrooms. So if you're a math and science teacher like me, you know that a great deal of frustrations held by students lies in the acquiring of the vocabulary of our subject matter. A useful resource that's free for vocabulary acquisition that has hit the world of education by storm is Quizlet.com, an education website that allows students from around the world to use flashcards, study sets, and games to basically learn key terms. Now, an interesting side note about Quizlet I think that's worth sharing to your class is that it was actually created by a high school sophomore named Andrew Sutherland in 2005. So this website that's being used by millions of students was actually created by someone like them that has obviously been refined a bit since 2005. Okay, so here is Quizlet. As you see, it's pretty straightforward, Quizlet.com. You can sign in with Google or Facebook or make your own email. So I'll log into my account. Voila. I'm under Mr. Brown right here. As you can see, I have my own class. And you can see below we have sets. These are vocabulary sets that I've created. I can create vocabulary sets, and other students can create vocabulary sets too. So right now I'm just going to show you my own set from Weather and Water unit. As you see before, it was private. Or you can see right now all the terms, pretty standard. You have terms and definitions. And I'm going to edit my set. And now I can make changes. Now the great thing about Quizlet, you can make these sets and you can determine who exactly can see it. So in my who can view, only people who can view this set are in my class. I could maybe change it to somebody who has a password, or I can maybe let everyone see it. It's up to you, the teacher, to decide who sees what. And a great thing about Quizlet, I like to notice, is that they have a great thing called the auto-define feature. So I'm going to give an example right now. Look up the term convection. I can go to the little search button, and that gives me a list of definitions from Quizlet users. And now this is something that should be used with caution, obviously, if you're a student, but as a teacher you can go through and find the definition that most aligns with what you're using it for, or teaching, or what you agree with. So I'll look through a little bit. Okay, that one looks nice. So I have my definition of convection. No. And that was great, because it didn't require that much work. Also, I usually require my students to find an image to go with each term. So I can just click the picture button, oops, and it checks in all the images from convection. Now, a lot of these images are going to be off, and again, these images are all from the Quizlet images. It's not going to be Google images. There shouldn't be anything wildly inappropriate that pops up. I'm not going to select an image for now, because I want you to see the flashcards without images. So I'll say I'm done. Okay, now let's look at the types of applications we can do with these sets. So the first one is flashcards, very famous and traditional. Flashcard, just like how we did it when we went to college and school. You click it and find the definition. When you click the definition again, they can read out for you what the definition is. So it's useful, especially on iPads, tablets, and smartphones. This works very well. They also have the Learn button, and also the Speller, which I don't use that much. But if you find that spelling's a major issue in your classroom, it'd be a great thing to use. One thing I do use a lot, though, is the Test app. And as you see, it can test out the questions from the set you created. 4 types of categories: written, matching, multiple choice, and true or false. So I selected an all multiple choice test, and I just generate the set by create test. Maybe I'll make mine, I usually do true and false and matching. And voila. They randomly assign the questions for matching, and I'm going to go ahead and just answer them. I'm just going to answer them randomly so we can see what happens. I'll say true for every question. So it's a great thing for students to use when they're reviewing for tests, trying to understand the concepts. They can check their answers. You see right there, I got an F, which isn't surprising. Every incorrect answer gives you the correct answer. So that's one of the great things about Quizlet, is that you get instant feedback. And it's been surprisingly very popular with students that especially struggle. Now the games portion, especially this one, Scatter, is very popular. Because everyone in your class, they can have a top time. They have terms and definitions. I just put them over, find the definition of atmosphere, boom. And then I would continue for all of them. When I'm done, that'll be my height, the fastest time, and the class will remember that. Race is another one that's popular. You have to spell out the terms. Students get pretty frustrated because if you misspell it, you don't get any credit. So there you have it. These are some of the great features of Quizlet that students can use. So now I've shown you the basics of Quizlet. I want to refocus on the crux of using Quizlet to help your ESL and bilingual students. Now I'm going to divide this presentation into 2 parts: the haves and the have-nots. The haves are teachers who have technology widely available and without issue in their classrooms. These teachers have smartboards or dot cams and maybe even 1-to-1 laptop ratios. On the other hand, the have-nots don't have tech widely or easily available in their class. I currently work at a have school, but spent most of my career at a have-not school. And I know that most of the time computer labs are reserved for language arts classes, and honestly will leave math and science behind. Even though the presentation will be on haves and have-nots, I know that most schools are probably somewhere in between, and the strategies from both you can apply to your classroom. So focusing on the haves, for the people who have technology readily available. Quizlet can be a frequent part of your class. For example, I use Quizlet as a vocabulary journal in my class. That's used almost daily. But I think it's important to understand that Quizlet has the ability to be more than just monolingual flashcards. It can be the bridge between your student's native language and English. And this bridge goes for both you and your students. So right now I'm going to show you something on that. Okay, so here we are in Quizlet now. Now we're in my Quizlet section, and I'm going to go down to one of my bilingual sets. I've got one, I'll choose physical science flashcards, English, and Bengali. Now, I actually created this flashcards as a means of an example and for some students. Now you can see that it's pretty, especially the flashcards level, it's pretty self-descript what to do. Find the word in English, and then you make the English definition. You find the word in your native language, Bengali, and you find the definition in Bengali. And of course, that could be the opposite, depending on what the student's proficiency level. Maybe they need to find the word in Bengali first, and then the definition in Bengali. So we'll check the flashcards. You see, we have force, and what I think is great is that it gives them the Bengali keyword to latch onto. And it worked just like in one language. Both will work in the same way, but they attach meaning to both. Now, one thing we've noticed is that the Learn and the Speller app are a bit difficult, especially when students have languages that have multiple characters or accents, while the Quizlet system does try to provide. I've often found that it's better just to use the flashcards and test and scatter. Even the test, you see the written portion, they allow the use of characters. So mainly pick on matching, multiple choice, and true or false. There you can see that the issue of writing down characters isn't a problem. Scatter also works without a problem. And I think the great thing about this is that it would work in a classroom where you'd have a high degree of students whose native language is English. Maybe you had a classroom where half the students were in English native speaking and the other half were Bengali native speaking. You could use this set for the whole class. Now, I think we'll go look at a set created by a student. Oops. Mistake. We'll try physics vocabulary, English, and Korean. So, for this student, it was actually their English proficiency was actually higher than their Korean proficiency. So this particular student almost had to spend more effort trying to figure out how to write the terms in Korean than in English. I'll try to highlight. Next time. But as you can see from the huge descriptions, this student was trying to describe the act and terms more carefully. Now this is a great deal of work it takes to make this, and I would recommend that this work should take place at home would be a better situation, where parents could also help in the first language understanding. And as you see, apps like Scatter still work without a problem, but you will have a bigger issue on these ones, like Speller and Learn, where we don't have an opportunity to write the characters. And this becomes a frequent issue for many of the students whose languages have multiple characters. So it takes a great deal of perseverance and planning ahead on your part as a teacher. I'll go back. I'm going to go back to the English Bengali set, and I'm going to try to focus on how you can use this when you're from one of the have-not schools. So before I get into that, you'll have to focus on translating, because I'm going to assume that many teachers are like myself, are monolingual, and might not have any clue about the language that of the students they teach in. So basically, from experimenting with my own students, I've found that Bing Translator has worked the best, and I've actually used this often in parent-teacher conferences as a way to communicate. Now you can see here, just basic sentences. Now you can see that when it comes to many of the languages with alphabets, it's no problem. But if your computer doesn't have characters installed, like my personal computer here, then you'll have trouble. So it's very important in your work computer that you're able to write down the characters necessary that fits your student body. So if you don't have many resources at your school, you can still use Quizlet, and basically as a means to create bilingual reviews. Now you can create many of these multilingual documents in a fairly short amount of time, especially as you get more and more used to it. You go to, and you could print these out in however manner you want to use them. I like to use these large squares for activities in the class, a type of scatter type activity, but in real life. So hopefully these give you some bilingual strategies to apply in whatever type of context you're teaching in. There you have it. I think Quizlet gives the content teacher great flexibility and allows you to add facets of bilingualism to your classroom in any way you see fit. I chose today to talk about Quizlet because I think it's a very possible and doable addition to the life of a busy and overworked teacher, and in the end should make your teaching load a lot lighter. It is not hard to imagine all content teachers incorporating these strategies and allowing true bilingualism to occur in the school. In leaving you, I think it's important we reaffirm how important bilingualism is for our students, and how many opportunities are provided to our students by being fluent in more than one language. So I will leave you with the words of psycholinguist Frank Smith. One language sets you in a corridor for life. 2 languages opens every door along the way. Thank you.